G'day everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Risky Rollers podcast. I'm Dalton, I'm joined by Locky.
Hello!
And once again, as our first ever return guest, Ikon.
Hey guys!
And we're back with that promised Black Templar episode, now that we have the actual rules in front of us and we're not talking out our asses.
Yes. Although I think some of our speculations would have been cooler.
So
Like
much
Chaplain
cooler.
Chaplain Dread,
Chaplain
obviously.
Dread.
Yeah.
Chaplain Dread for the win.
Drop the ball. They dropped the ball.
So, in today's podcast, we're going to be, all three of us have written up lists or sketches of lists with the new Black Templars book. So we're going to be discussing those and how well or what they will or won't do, as well as some of the cool stuff in the book. So before we get into all of that, I'll just mention, make sure to check out Dice Arcade and use the code RiskyRolls to get a discount on all your hobby-related needs. Check out our YouTube channel if you're not listening to us on YouTube. We've got all sorts of things, including, finally, bat reps and things.
Bat reps are back! Woo!
Yeah, I'm super pumped. I don't get the inside track on this, and I'm super pumped. Because I want to see these matchups. Like, there's no inside track stuff going on here. I want to see this matchup.
Yeah, no, there's some great games that we've played that are coming out. We've got the pre-game show up for patrons, so if you're wanting to support us and get an extra podcast and get the bat rep early, make sure to become a patron. And in general, jump into our Discord and hang out with us. You don't need to be a patron for that. You can just jump on. It's all free. You can jump straight in. You can chat with us, talk Black Templars, talk all the new Tyranid stuff. I know Locky's still riding high on that one.
Oh yeah.
Just come play TTS, guys. Like, there's so much coming out at the moment, right? Like, post Black Templar, Nids, Deathwatch, so much playtesting to be done.
Yeah.
And
look, we don't have any Orc players in our group, so all you Orc players out there, come join our Discord and come play.
We've got one bloke working on Orcs.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, but Charlie has openly said he's not really pushing that too hard.
Yeah.
He's back on his Wraith Titans, Wraith Knights, Wraith whatever. What are they called?
Wraith Knights.
Wraith Knights. Yeah.
Big ghost things.
Sweet looking minis. He's got
super cool.
There.
Yeah. Ooh. So.
But yeah.
What do we think? What's our first initial impression of the book?
First initial impression. You took the things that we liked, and then you gave us things that we now need to learn how to adjust to. I don't think they're inherently bad yet at this point, but it feels like a big adjustment for me.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Because I mean, personally, like, you guys have seen me come back into the hobby and go from not really having a clue to refining this army to where I was very comfortable with what the army did.
Yeah.
And then that got taken all away, and I don't personally have the experience to go, we'll just do this, it'll be fine. So now it feels like I'm relearning the whole thing again and just trying to find my feet all over again. And it's tricky. It's, maybe a more experienced player wouldn't face this sort of problem, but for me, it feels like we're back at square one. But I haven't lost faith, though. I think there's plenty of good in there. It's just gonna take mountains of playtesting for me to find where that new shtick for the army is.
Right. It's different good to what it was before. It's not...
The
things that worked before no longer work the same way or don't exist.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's... Look, I'm not a Black Templars player. I've got some quite negative feelings about what Games Workshop has done with this book from a 9th edition 40k perspective. And I've spoken to you boys about this. I feel that a lot of the flavour of what makes Templars unique has kind of gone, and it's just replaced with major components of the Sisters book, and that I just don't like. I don't like that at all from a design point of view. I just think it's really, really lazy and really poor. You literally stratagems, relics, character, literally carbon copy from the Sisters book, and I get like,
and you're paying a premium for it too.
Yeah, and I understand that there's the whole faith thing. I just think that there could have been a much cooler way to make the Space Marines that are the most faithful, devoted version of Space Marines a little bit different than Sisters. And, you know, Ikon, we spoke about this, where basically if you want to play faithful, you know, Catholic, devoted people, you play Sisters because it's just a better book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I mean, again, that's early days without us, you know, kind of going through the motions and
but
really kind of diving
it.
it.
Written on paper, though, like, and there's a couple of things in this book that I want to reference that exact sentence as well. Rules as written on paper, there's a couple of things in this book that just don't add up to what in game as to what they read on paper.
Yeah. I mean, and it's. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on the army. I'm not hating on the book as such. I'm sort of more hating on GW for this because it's annoying because I'm not a Space Marine player and I'm the Black Templars whole, especially with the whole throwback to the art, which is amazing, what they've done with the boxes and all that stuff. It's really cool and thematic, and then you just kind of go, well, oh, okay. It's not really that much different. There's a few different things, but not really that. Again, this is referencing the Sisters thing, and I was just hoping for something a little bit more. A little bit more like wow factoring, like oh okay, that's like that makes sense, or oh that's cool, or you know, I just kind of everything was something a bit
more creative and unique than just
okay.
Some of the Sisters rules, some of the Grey Knights rules, and just sort of shove them together and go, all right, they're Sisters Marines.
Exactly. I mean, like, I think
Sisters.
the Sisters really didn't change too much from what their 8th edition stuff was. You know, they just got better, you know.
Yeah.
But ultimately...
they already had a lot of the stuff they needed for 9th edition as well.
Exactly. And then Grey Knights changed, I think, for the better immensely. And, you know, it was kind of doubling down on the fluff. It was kind of them being, you know, strong. Martial prowess was quite high, and then the psychic part of it is to buff and to improve. And, you know, and then they did the same thing with Thousand Sons. Thousand Sons, you know, they're really relying on that psychic push, and that's kind of their shtick. And,
well,
you know,
I played against them the other day, and their psychic is... They'll just mortal you into the ground, and that's even with a 5-up against mortals, they'll still dump them on you like it's dollar coins.
And then you've got what they did with Nids, and I know this is a Black Templar episode, but I'll get any chance to talk about it. But what they did there, I'll go, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, even if we don't now get a book until 2023 or 2022, sorry, I couldn't care less because I go, this is awesome, and it's fluffy, it makes sense, it's cool, and bringing it back to the Black Templars, that's what I was hoping out of this.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, okay, certain things had to be tweaked and reined in so that people weren't gaming it and making it a bit too janky and weird in tournaments and stuff like that. But I feel they've just lost that cool component that makes them the most devout religious people of religious Space Marines. That's all.
Yeah.
Rant over.
I think I probably agree with that in that I come to the book and Ikon and I had a good discussion with this yesterday in person where we talked about what does the book do that makes it interesting or makes it unique. Because and it was really hard to come up with anything that the book does that isn't done somewhere else.
And better.
Well, I mean, before it was what does the army do that no one else can do? It's jump out of an impulsor and engage you, put fight last on you, advance and charge, like all of this in one turn.
All of this movement that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. Well, it's out of sequence movement, right?
Exactly.
That's what they did.
And that was they've taken it all away. They've given us this Vow system, which I'm finding more merit for the more I play.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean,
so you're actually...
That was the response to that question that I had, was that you would... in fact, sorry, no, I'll get into that in a moment. Locky, you go on.
I was going to say, so you think it's actually growing on you the more you're using it?
The more I use it, the more I'm finding places to use it, right? So like in your sort of Space Marine versus Space Marine matchup, or even if you're going up against Chaos Marines, for example, like a really combat Chaos Marine army, you're going to take uh, accept any challenge no matter the odds, because then you're balancing that. You know, you're going into Death Guard, they've got one extra attack now, you've got one extra attack. You're really lifting into that sort of thing. And I feel
So what is that? What's that thing that you're
accept
talking
any
about? What's
challenge
the
no
vow?
matter the odds is you get +1 attack always. You in combat, and then you get switched into Assault Doctrine the moment you enter combat. And
Yep, that one. Yeah, yeah.
And the vow is the passion. Sorry, is obviously you can't fall back, but the whole being able to switch into Assault Doctrine straight away is good in itself, because now you're taking Tactical Doctrine turn 2 and 3, and your AP2 pistols everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
AP2 pistols is then you get into that shooting phase in turn 2, and you automatically switch over to Assault Doctrine, and you're in combat. You're in combat turn 3. You're shooting with your pistols in combat. They're all AP2. You know, it's just for the 5 pistol shots, it adds up. The plink damage across an entire game is quite nice. And then you've got those, the extra attack as well. So you're no longer worried about shock assault. You're going, I'll just take this combat, and if it goes over to a next turn for whatever reason, I'm not losing out on anything.
Yeah.
With seeing the book, how it is, I feel there is like, I think this is an opinion that's been expressed quite universally, is that they could have taken these a little bit further and they still wouldn't be busted.
Yeah.
I think when we spoke about it initially, that we were kind of which was the ones that they announced. It was Abhor the Witch and Suffer Not the Unclean, right?
No, it was Abhor the Witch and Accept Any Challenge. So the one I just described.
Okay, yeah.
And then the Psychic one.
So I mean, a lot of people are saying that one actually kind of, and I think you've used the Abhor the Witch one, right?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
You take it turn 1. Turn 1 you get that 3-inch bonus move, and I had a squad of Terminators run up the side of the board. You're Black Templar, so you get to reroll advances natively, and so I had Terminators advancing 13 inches turn 1. They're up in the mid board, they're in cover, and they're just going, you're either going to spend everything trying to shift us, or we're going to be kicking you in the balls next turn.
Yeah.
So my issue with that one is, compared to the other 3, is it's very it's a one-time use, right? So yeah, okay, you get the reroll ones to wound, which obviously would make sense and you probably only ever take this, and this is why I guess the design of this makes sense, because you'd only ever take this if you're playing GK or T-Suns or Nids or Eldar, right?
But
compared
to Eldar, it loses a lot of efficiency, because those reroll ones are only into psychic models.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, it does. Yeah, against the psychic.
So it's only for T-Suns. It's only for T-Suns and Dreadnoughts.
That's a shame. And coming back to what I was saying was that the accept any challenge, no matter the odds, make it a cumulative. Like, why were they not cumulative?
Yeah.
I mean, look, maybe not. I don't know. Space Marines have a lot of attacks anyway, but when looked at the rest of the book, when we first talked about this, we looked at these in a vacuum, right? Because we had no data sheets, we had no rules, we had no relics, we had no warlord traits, none of that stuff. And we go, I don't think we spoke pretty highly about.
Abhor the Witch, we did not like.
We
were
thought
like,
it was trash.
Why would you? And
I still stand by it, man. I wouldn't take it. I still don't think I'd take it. I something that only gives you a benefit at the beginning of the game, one time only. How many times do we talk about relics? Like, we literally had this conversation off thing where we were like, you could take the
Holy Orb. Yeah.
The Holy Orb,
but it's one
which is a relic bearer. And we'll come to this later. But it's one time use, and you say, well, I'll pay the 125 points for a whirlwind because they can get more efficiency across the whole
game,
battlefield, across the whole army, across the whole game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's again, it's, as a non-Black Templar player, I'm sitting here going, what? What?
Yeah.
I go like, they write these rules and then they write the marshal, the AdMech marshal, and you go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
So,
right.
I think, yeah.
They got the trainee to write this book. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Got the intern.
Yeah. Yeah. They just got the interns. They're like, yeah, see this awesome picture? Fill it with words.
Yeah, no, see, that's definitely not what happened though, because the intern at GW would be someone who really loves GW, and they'd make something really cool and fluffy.
Oh, that's who made the AdMed book then.
Yeah, exactly.
But the good thing is, I don't want to be too negative. You don't have to take them,
No, you don't.
Yeah.
and you can pick at the start of the game.
This is
I think-
what's
so
massive.
That's
the
what's
big deal.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I think this comes back to, and this is my theory about the way this book will work. In a couple of months' time, people have really gotten into it, and it's settled into something. And Ikon and I talked about this last night. The way this will work, there'll be some setup, some list, which someone who's better at the book and better at the game than I will write, that will be perfectly suited to, depending on the list they come up against and the mission they roll.
They'll be able to pick whichever one and it'll work.
Pick
perfect.
whichever vow,
Yeah.
and it'll work perfectly in that matchup.
100%.
I think that's what my list is practically coming down to. When we dissect lists later, and the stuff I was mentioning off, like pre-show, about this no longer being the army that wants to hunt you down and get into combat. It's you take the balance list, and then you take the vow that tips the balance list into what you need it to be.
But not just that. But
Okay.
every unit in that list will be a tech piece. And
Yeah.
it'll be a tech piece that will function differently depending on the vow.
Yes.
And also potentially the
so-
turn and the circumstance, right, as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So even though the list itself remains the same, you take a different vow to go into a different opponent, and you play the list like it's a different list.
Yes. It
Yeah.
becomes entirely
So you can't have it like building 4 in 1, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That sounds
So
cool.
you're a very quick example of that may or may not be a good one or not. Bikes, outriders, that sort of thing. You take them in this hypothetical list, and then with the Abhor the Witch one, will they become your, because it makes them that much faster, that much killier, they become your missiles. You go and you
Yeah, your
target
Alpha Strike missile,
the specific psychers that you need dead.
Yep.
You're throwing 3 outriders or a squad of bikes straight into them.
Yeah.
Right? They're where you need them to be, they're doing that. But let's say you're going into something where you need something that's more resilient or something. That's the thing. Well, you take Uphold the Honor of the Emperor. Those bikes don't get cover anyway. So you're putting them on the objectives where you need them. They're sitting out there being even tankier with that fuck-up involved.
Yes.
So-
And the
you're
baby
playing into that.
transhuman, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And then the other ones being, take any challenge.
Except,
Yep.
That's just good for them. Like, in that case, you should run them like normal bikes.
That's your
don't-
generalist
they're-
one,
That's
yeah,
a general
yeah,
one.
yeah.
And then the other one is suffer not the Xenos to live.
Yep.
Suffer not the unclean to live. That one is
Yeah.
the one where you go, oh shit, I've just walked into a tournament and there's custodians across from me. Because now you're auto winning on 6s,
Yeah.
period.
100%.
Yeah.
And
And
look,
so that becomes where you use those in groups. You use them to support your other units. You go, well, I'm charging this unit of Crusaders in over here. Well, therefore, I need to throw in these bikes there because I need those extra attacks in there. And your bikes become that mobile combat support.
we literally just spoke, and again, I'm going to pull back to my army because we were literally just talking about off camera, we're not on camera, off show. We have a strat to do this sorry, we don't have a strat. We have an ability to do this, to put this on a unit, and how important or how effective this is to put on a low to mid strength unit with copious amounts of attacks.
Yeah.
You know, on an outrider squad that's getting 6 attacks per outrider.
Something ridiculous like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is 6, yeah.
But if you run 2 of them, and you happen to get them in, you can mince T8 targets.
Yes, you can.
Auto wounding is not something to scoff about. Especially, don't forget your Space Marines, right? So you have 2 instances for full rerolls, which is Litany of Hate and Chapter Master, right? So there are ways in which that can be exploited. Now, I think what is going to massively change a lot of this is as the more and more armies come out, the GSC and Custodial stuff is going to entirely flip the whole meta of the whole game.
I believe.
I guarantee
so too.
it. It's going to the whole thing is just going to turn upside down, and then also not far after that is you're going to see a chapter approved come in January, right? Yep. So you're going to have 2 new books. Rumor has it the Custodial's book is busted. It wouldn't surprise me. And then you're going to get a huge points increase to things like Dreadnoughts. You're going to get a potential points decrease to a lot of Space Marine troops units like Infiltrators, which would be great.
Yes, I stand by Infiltrators 8 days a week. I love those things.
Also, that you're also going to get Blood Axe Army Renowned, right? Orcs are already prevalent at the moment because of their flying shooting stuff. If for some reason there was a way for Orcs, for example, to mass green tide with high AP attacks, this would be your Uphold the Emperor every day of the week. Your Orc matchup, bang, you'd be your invulnerable saves. Because you're going to be getting that added bonus. Because, we were talking about this earlier again. The problem with the Uphold the Emperor one, and you think it's a bit of a trap, Ikon, right? Like it lures you in.
It does lure you in because you're like 5 up invul, baby transhuman, and then you're like, well, but no cover. I would like. It depends on the matchup. If you're going into that high AP orcs that you're talking about, you're going to take it because you're going to hit that invul. If you're going into AdMech, if you're going into T-Suns, I mean, you're not going to take the T-Suns one because you want the rerolls one in combat because T-Suns are pretty trash in combat. But they're
not terrible, but yeah.
Oh no, they're pretty bad.
I don't know, man. That's an interesting actual example because Neg 2 bolt guns. Neg 2 bolt guns.
No. In combat, close combat, their shooting is...
No, I know. Sorry, their shooting to you, though, is Neg 2.
Yeah.
So it's putting you... I guess it's putting you at 5 anyway. Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
You need to be going into those armies that are... Like, Charlie's list would be a good example, because he's got all that Wraith shit that's like AP...
Well, same as Tau.
Yeah.
Tau and Eldar have, like... middle to high strength and high AP weapons.
Or your new Nid stuff, I would take it because or even the other list where you're coming across Death Guard with 3 Plague Burst crawlers, and then you're gonna end up in that combat phase. You're gonna end up in that mid-board combat, and you're gonna be in contagion range, and now you're no longer being wounded on 2s. That's huge.
Yeah, that would be massive.
That
would be actually huge. I mean, even in against Hive Guard, you're going to see with the new book that's come out, you're going to see, especially competitively, you're going to see 12 Hive Guard in every Nids list.
Yeah. And you take
minimum
it
6
because you're not getting cover
12.
anyway. And then you're not being wounded on 2s, and it's massive there.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
it's huge.
In your general matchups, like, you'll never go into AdMech with this because there's so much AP1, so much AP2. Like,
well, we just remove AdMech from any discussion because you just can't. The metrics, it just doesn't make any sense. You can't.
Ideally, you're not going into AdMech at all.
It doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense. But you're going to go. You know, as someone who wants to be able to one day reach that competitive platform, I've got to always go. How can I stand a chance against these broken armies and scale backwards from that? Because that's what you're going to find at a tournament. You know,
and that's the idea. But I think, in all seriousness, the unfortunate answer to that question is you don't play B+ tier armies.
Yeah.
If that's your goal.
Yeah. Please be my bank account.
Yeah. But hey, you just buy armies and don't paint them, and you just buy them as is, and it is what it is. But anyway, stratagems.
Okay, well, we'll start off with the elephants in the room.
The big one. Yeah.
The 2 elephants in the room. They took advance in charge, and then they changed about push. And I'm not going to call it a nerf because there's it's got new jank now. Now it's fire and fade, and now it's pop a 6 Hellblasters out of an Impulsor, and then plasma spray and jump back in.
So this is a prime example of what you were saying by you would never have thought of doing something like that prior to this codex. Just that example.
Yeah.
Even I wouldn't have I didn't even know that was a thing that you would actually do with Devout Push.
Well, yeah, no, it took me a week of digging to find that one. I'm not going to claim that one. That was someone else.
Oh yeah, I mean everything's someone else. That's fine. But the point is that this is kind of just pure evidence to what you were saying regarding that. This book just means you need to look at Black Templars differently.
Yeah, entirely differently, because now your impulses aren't to get your Blade Guard into combat. It's you drive them onto objective, you protect 6 Hellblasters, and you jump out and you go pew, 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 with 18 plasma shots, strength 6 or 7, depending on what plasma you take, whether you overcharge or not. And it's all AP4 damage 1 to 2, and and like. You're hitting everyone's involved. You're punching into Death Guard. You're hitting everyone's involved.
Can you have a chappie with them, jump out, do the strat?
Nah, because you can only do one squad, right? So everybody could jump out, but then then the chappie.
No, but the strat's out of sequence, right? So you do the strat and the in the shooting phase, which auto makes Litany of Hate go off.
Yeah.
So then the Hellblasters are re-rolling everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, so the chaplain wouldn't be able to get back in with them, is what I'm saying.
Oh, right.
Because it's two separate
no, that's
units.
fine. He'll be protected by Lookout Sir
Yeah,
by the
he will.
thing.
He will.
Yeah. And then he just pops in your next turn, and then you don't worry about it.
And alternately, you position your Impulsor well, so it's next to cover, and you just pop out the thing in cover, so then it's the chaplain in cover, so then it's A, obscured, B, in cover, C, protected by Lookout Sir. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
In case they have snipers or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's another little again, cool. I like it. It's different. It's new. I don't think Space Marines have kind of had that in their toolkit. Period.
No, I haven't heard of any instance.
I could be wrong. For anyone listening who 100% goes Lucky, you talk shit.
Yeah.
Tell us.
I mean, it's very much an Ultramarines idea, like thematically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
Or Imperial Fists. I imagine it'd be an Imperial Fist thing as well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That makes more sense for Black Templars then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Maybe.
Kinda.
Well, before we keep going on to strats, Dalton, do we?
Yes, so we'll take a quick break, hear from Tim, and then we'll be right back and we'll get right into these lists we've all written.
DiceArcade.com.au. All the biggest brands of miniatures and wargaming. Free postage over $250.
Alright, thanks Tim. So, we've all been away and we've written lists.
Well, just
book.
before we get into that, there's just a couple of other stratagems I want to go over. Obviously the other one that everyone's like, oh, you changed it, is what's it called? Will of the Emperor. So it was the Advance in Charge, and now, the Emperor's Will. So now the things that I've seen with people testing lists is, it's no longer you can advance and charge, it's you can advance and you're still eligible to shoot with pistols, rapid fire, or assault weapons, and you don't suffer the -1 for shooting assault weapons if you advance.
Yep.
And the thing that people have been doing is running 4-man blobs of assault centurions and advancing them up the board, and then dumping with the hurricane bolters and just dumping the rapid fire shots into things. It's because they have one on each hand, right? I mean, I've never picked up a Centurion model, but they've got 2, yeah?
They're on their chest, but
they've got 2, so
yeah.
It's 12, it's 48 bolter shots at AP, I want to say it's minimum, it'd be minimum AP 1, so...
No, it'd be 0, it's AP 0.
Okay.
So it's just a bolter, so it's just mass shot bolter. So they've all got 1 hurricane bolter each, which is rapid fire 6, strength 4, AP dash, 1 damage, right?
So they don't
when
have
you're in
to.
tactical, No, so it's one Hurricane Bolter, but it's rapid fire 6,
Yeah.
so you get 12 shots each model.
Yeah. So you're just
Right, so when you're yeeting them up the board, and if you're in tactical, yeah, it can be like 40 whatever, like you said, 48 shots, strength 4 neg 1.
Yeah. I still want to test it, but I'm not sure about it because you can't put any rerolls on them or anything. You can't even, they're not core. You can't put the strat on them. You can't march them onto an objective and make them obsec.
Are Centurions not core?
No, they're not core, but you can also
The
do.
Dreadnoughts are.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Don't.
Anyway, go on. Yep.
Just
You can also do both of those things with a chaplain, man.
Yeah.
You can have the rerolls from Litany of Hate.
yeah, but that's not
And
for
then-
shooting though.
Ah, right, it's not. Apologies. That's lame. No! Is there not a shooting one? What's the shooting one?
Not in that.
It's like is it increase AP or whatever? Yeah.
No,
is it Catechism of Fire?
Catechism of Fire is +1 to wound. Or +1.
It's
plus,
in
+1 to wound or +1 to hit. I will look. Litanies. I have the book in front of me.
Right. Okay. Well,
Catechism.
shows I'm a Space Marine player.
It's +1 to wound.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
No.
But look, I mean, you don't have to build everything into that. I mean, really, I think that's a cool little look. If things like that are being used, that's forcing players to look outside of the status quo, quote unquote, the standard builds. That's good, right? That's a good thing because there are
the general
a
consensus,
ridiculous amount of models in the Space Marine Marine
I
range.
think
So
there's
use
81
them.
characters, I think.
What?
But the thing is that with the Centurions and the general reports are saying everyone's looking at Centurions and going, why the fuck has this guy got Centurions? And just ignoring them. And then they're getting away with all these things because the Centurions just aren't being targeted. So it's sort of this point at the moment where everyone's like, Centurions, and then they're just getting these 48 free shots off, and getting into combat, and they hit okay in combat. They're pretty,
Pretty sure the assault one's mince, right? With the massive drills.
This is the ones that people are running.
Yeah.
They're running the siege drills, and everyone's sort of ignoring them because like, this guy brought Centurions, loser. And then
because I know, Denise
you thought the Dreadnought looked like a goofy model.
yeah.
The Dreadnought's not a goofy model though. The Dreadnought's a cool model. Excuse me, everybody. It's a giant sword. The Centurion is a very goofy model.
Yeah.
Especially the drills. They look weird.
Yeah.
I think the drill's the best looking part of that model.
Yes.
Really? Then the heavy bolters under their arms?
Yeah, man, the drills look epic.
Well, that's the other thing that people are doing. They're running the flamers on them, and then you're running these things into anything that's a 6-man or a 10-man, and you're popping. I believe
they have flamers.
Yeah,
you can give them flamers.
Yeah. So then we have the.
Tasty.
Sorry, I'm just finding the strat page to make sure that you can actually do this, but oh no, you can't do that either because they need to be core. Forget that. I was going to say you can put the blasting
Heretics Pyre.
Yeah.
I'm literally looking at that right now as well. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I was like, this is
to be
about to get real spicy, but they're not core, so you can't.
Okay.
Huh.
But they're still pretty good on their own.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know Denise from the Normal Blokes who plays Death Watch has been using them, and he's been saying on his podcast how much he uses them in all these tournament games and stuff. So they definitely have a place somewhere.
Yeah.
And if that's just the new thing, if that's the new hotness, then for Black Templars, I mean, all the more. I think it's cool.
Yeah. It's cool to get some diversity. Those siege drills are strength 10, AP 4, damage 3 for anyone who hasn't looked at a Centurion data sheet in the past 12 months, like me.
So everyone.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why I went and dug it out because I'm like, no one else is looking at this.
I mean, look, we're talking a lot of shit about Centurions here.
Yeah. So,
but they're a surprisingly versatile kit and unit.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Who wants to hit their list first?
Well,
I think
let's-
Ikon, you should be last.
I was about to
because-
say, let's you and I run through our sketches of lists, and then Icon can tell us why we're both idiots.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, would you care to start, Locky?
I'll do mine. So, it's basically two chaplains and High Marshal, Helbrecht.
Yeah, he's a boss.
The first chaplain is essentially just a buffer. So he's just a jump pack chaplain with Litany of Divine Protection, Category of Hate, and Rites of War Warlord trait. So spending the 1 CP to give him the Warlord trait thing. And then the Primaris chaplain on bike is the other chaplain, and he's just got he's just the smash dude, right? The strength 8, Mantra of Strength, and Benediction Fury, and Imperium Sword, and all that jazz. The troops choices is 3 units of Assault Intercessors. Elites is 2 units of Blade Guard. One of them has the Bones of Mordred, so 6s to wound on the champion mortals in addition. And then Champion of the Feast for the +1 attack, strength, and damage.
Nah, it's weapon skill. So hitting on 2s.
Weapon skill, there you go. And then also the Sword of Judgment.
Yes.
So spending a bit of CP on him. So that makes the Sergeant have on the charge 5 attacks, strength 8, 7, strength 7, strength 8.
Yes, it's
Strength 8.
I'm running something similar.
Minus 3 damage potentially plus mortals. Yeah, awesome. And then the other one just has the Holy Orb, which is that, as we said before, that fights last, but once per battle. An Apothecary, a Vanguard squad, 5 with dual lightning claws and 5 with chainsword and shield. 2 Outrider squads. 1 has the icon of Henman, which is Hanneman, which is transhuman on him, baby transhuman. Sorry, what am I talking about? It ignores AP 1 and 2.
Yeah.
On the Sergeant. So obviously you just take every save on the Sergeant and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then 2 Impulses. So the plan with this one is pretty much to have the Mortal Wound Blade Guard vet with squad with Helbrecht in 1 Impulsor. And then the other Blade Guard squad with the Holy Orb with the Apothecary. Then the Primaris Chaplain on bike running with the 2 Outrider squads. And then the Chaplain running with the Vanguard squad. So Rites of War is giving that Vanguard vet squad OBSEC. This is not new. This has been used for ages. And then the Assault Intercessors are literally your banners or your whatever troops units. They wouldn't even see them in combat. I probably wouldn't even do anything with them. They're literally just the cheapest way of, well, not the cheapest, but one of the cheapest / durable bodies to do stuff with.
Yes.
And tell me why I'm wrong.
There's only a couple things that I'm like, okay, I don't understand this. And one of them is I think you could spend a better warlord trait than Rites of War, because in this book there's not really that much in the way of good strats that you're going to be using other than the can make core things obsec. Give a different warlord trait that does, maybe like frontline commander, so then you get that extra inch. And then like on your charges, it's been changed now, so it's first to the fray, but like now you've got your Vanguard vets moving 12, you're just getting that extra movement.
But he's got Canticle, right? So when I drop in from Deep Strike, and then I have my 7-inch charge, if I charge onto an objective,
you can make it 6 with frontline commander.
But still 7 rerollable for free. I'd take those odds, and then the fact that is an OBSEC 10-man body of Vanguard vets that is hard to shift.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
That's the reasoning behind that. Yeah,
it's definitely.
But you were saying earlier that I wrote this. This is an 8th edition BT list,
well,
right?
That's what I see, in the sense that it's supporting the things that we had before.
Yeah.
It supports the It supports the advance and charge. It supports the devout push, and it supports that play style of we're getting in your face and taking what we want, and not so much the okay, now we're building a general list and taking the vow to define how this list is going to play.
Yeah, that's definitely not what the purpose behind this was. Kind of, all right, Black Templars don't have advance and charge,
so let's just move super fast.
Let's try and fill those holes where literally the only thing that isn't fast is my assault intercessors, and that's because they're not designed to be fast anyway. They're just sitting and holding objectives. And then my alternate in this was actually just going full outrider, having a patrol and an outrider, and literally just max loading bikes and outriders.
That's cool.
Like 3 outrider squads and 3 bike squads, and then you run your attack bikes in each one to give you some anti-tank support, and it becomes like a Horus Heresy White Skies list.
Yeah, that would be epic. I think the only thing that's going to let you down there, and this is from a 9th edition terrain perspective, is that a lot of
you can't move through. And so while you've got all this movement, you're playing the 6-inch Space Marine, 6-inch movement Space Marine that's just advanced 4 inches has moved the same distance as you because he just went through the building where you had to go round. Yeah, that's fair. That's true. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can tell I'm obviously not a Space Marine player. Dalton, hit us with yours.
All right. Well, so I've gone for a bit of a mix of Primaris and Mini Marine, Legacy Marines.
Oh, I like that word, Legacy. It's a good word.
Yeah. Well, because they're not actually Firstborn, right?
No, Firstborn is to do
with it's to do with Ultramarines, yeah.
Oh, I can't remember what it's to do with, but it is something else in its own right.
Yeah. So my warlord is the High Marshal Helbrecht.
Yes,
of course.
Because it's a beast. And then I've taken the Lieutenant, the Castellan.
Oh,
It's the new model with the axe and the combi flamer.
Yes.
Because the model is gorgeous.
Yes, you just get 5 extra CP for having him.
Exactly. And then I've taken a Primaris Chaplain on bike.
Okay.
So you'll notice a bit of a theme through my list, which is that it's mostly mechanized. So I've taken a squad of 5 intercessors with the autobolt rifles. Their job is to be backs to mid-range objectives, very similar to Locky's for banners, for sitting on an objective and just pumping out shots at range. They're no slouch in combat because they're Space Marines. They've got all those attacks, but they're not there to be up in your face. They're the squad you leave back on your side of the field while the rest jamming pushes forward.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Then I've taken 2 almost identical Crusader squads. There's 10 of them, so 4 neophytes, 5 initiates, and sword brethren. The neophytes all have the just the chainsword and pistols, and then you've got the initiates. One of them has a power fist, and the rest of them have the autobolt rifles.
I got to jump in here. This is interesting.
Yep.
There's a sergeant. One of the upgrades for the sergeant. There's a power fist in there that you can chuck on there. That's quite good, I believe.
There is, yes. So one of the squads has that.
Oh, nice.
And the other squad has the Holy Hand Grenade.
Fist of Balthus.
Yeah, Fist of Balthus. It just sounds cool.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. No minus. For those of you who don't know, it's a no minus to hit.
Power fist.
3 damage power fist. So it's a no minus to hit Thunderhammer.
Yeah.
At -3. It's awesome. It's really good.
Cool.
That's what a relic should be.
Yeah. So they're all there. So the neophytes have the chainswords to bring their attack profile up, and then the initiates have the autobolt rifles just to again throw out those bolt shots. I'm seeing the Crusaders as more of a mid-range threat with a bit of counterpunch and less of a run forward and be the combat melee blender.
Yeah,
but there's still a solid bit of combat there. Yeah,
more like a NutriBullet than a blender.
What does blend is... Oh, sorry. And both those Crusader squads are running around in a bare bones Impulsor.
Rhino.
These are... So they're Primaris Crusader squads. They have to be in an Impulsor.
Ah, Impulse.
Oh, so you're paying the
stick them in a
paying the 188
You're paying the
points.
premium.
Yeah.
The max.
I mean, you get the benefits of transhuman and whatnot, but it's expensive. Like
It is. So we'll see if that works or not. So this list was very much designed with the idea of... I talked earlier about Uphold the Honor of the Emperor being good on bikes and things that aren't going to be benefiting from cover anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of leaning into that idea of trying to build a list that works with it by not having to worry about the cover in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So having the option of having one of these having full transhuman on them and the other one just having that mini transhuman wherever it's needed, just to try and get them to stick around a bit
Well,
longer.
it is a lot of wounds to get through. It's 40 wounds.
Yeah.
And if they prioritize those as the targets, they're not shooting any of your elite stuff that really is going to do more.
Yeah. Speaking of the elite stuff, 10 Sword Brethren
Interesting.
with... Now these are Legacy Sword Brethren, for a reason which will become clear in a minute.
Yep.
And they've got 2 Lightning Claws and a Thunderhammer in the unit. And then there's also 2 Plasma Pistols in the unit. Then everyone else just has Power Swords.
Yeah.
They're there, as Ikon and I discussed outside the podcast at one point, because they can ignore the passion from the Vow.
Yeah.
They can take cover if they need to. But then they also, the 5-up invuln and then the mini transhuman makes them not quite, but almost as durable as Blade Guard to begin with.
Yes, and they are 10 points cheaper.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And then they can be mounted in the Land Raider Proteus.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
It's the Forge World Land Raider with all the mass
Yeah.
cannons. And this is basically my anti-tank in this. It's 2 twin las cannons, multi-melter, a hunter killer missile on a Land Raider chassis with a 5-up invuln.
2 twin? You mean 2 quad las? Isn't it 2 quads?
No, it's 2 twins.
So you mean just a normal Land Raider?
Yeah, I was going to say, normal Land Raider has 2 twins, one on each.
Yeah. Do you mean the 2...
This is the Relic Land Raider. I might be reading this profile wrong then.
Oh,
No, it's two twin las cannons.
yeah, it's just the old. It's the old one. It's the 30k model. So what's that different
Yeah.
rules wise than the normal one? Is it cheaper?
I don't believe so. No, it's got the. I was under the impression the normal one couldn't take all the extra las cannons and multi melters and stuff.
No. A normal one has las
right.
cannons on the left and right, and it's got a heavy bolter in the
Yeah.
front.
Oh, you can see how
It's
often
got a
I
twin
read
heavy
Space-
bolter in the front.
You can see how often I read the Space Marine Codex.
Yeah.
So I think you're actually paying a premium for less
I
stuff.
think I am. In which case, it's just a Land Raider.
I
With
think so.
the twin las cannon, the multi melter, the heavy bolter, and the hunter killer. A big tough anti tank, and with the 5-up invuln, it basically fixes the problems with Land Raiders that I've got. It's still pricey, yes, even with just buying the normal Land Raider. It's still pricey. It is still a big target.
Yeah.
But if you're choosing between the massive Land Raider carrying the 10 Sword Brethren, which should be your priority target,
Or
but then also you've got these Impulsors with Crusaders running up, and then you've got your other bit of anti-tank and also harassment.
hang on.
Yep.
You've got Impulsors with Crusaders, but your Crusader squads are 10-man squads. What?
Yes. Hold on.
Impulsor has a 6-man troop capacity.
Six man
It
capacity.
does. It's because I built it with them in Rhinos and then went,
It's
I'll make it
cheating.
all Primaris. Yep. So no. So yeah, I built them as mini Marines. Then I went, wait, these.
Oh wait,
better
we
with
have the
Primaris,
points
so I
for
can transhuman and
Primaris.
stuff."
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's the same with
So,
your
no, okay.
Land Raider
Yeah.
ploy.
So the only land rated benefit here
is for the Crusader.
that you get.
Yeah.
No. The Proteus is that you get a optional 10-point upgrade for a 5-up invo. That's it. And then some other thing where you can do some other weird.
Right. So if you were taking this outside of building the list to work on that 5-up invuln, you would take the Proteus to give it the invuln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in this situation, it's redundant.
But then,
but it is cheaper. It's 255 points
instead of what?
Instead of 275, I think. So you're saving 20 points.
But then you're paying 10 more to put the invuln on it if you put the invuln on it independently.
Yeah.
Point is, Dalton brewed his list up, so
essentially, yeah.
he gets an F for today's session.
Yeah. It's a good thing I don't play Templars.
Yeah, the other thing as well is loading. There's some good and bad. I like the idea of the 10-man sword brethren because there's a few things about these guys that is interesting, despite the fact and they're sort of the opposite of the. They look bad on paper, but the more you read into them, the more you're like, oh, hang on, because there's no sergeant in a sword brethren squad. So you're not worried about taking out that one model for leadership or whatever. But because there's no sergeant, you can also put multiple.
Can you give a whole unit all relic bearers?
I believe so, because they're all sword brethren. And then you've got other cool things. You take a 10-man squad, but then because a 10-man squad allows you to put 2 Thunderhammers, 2 sets of Lightning Claws, 2 Power Mauls, and then you combat squad them into 2 5-mans. So then you've got this one squad that's just power swords, going into one specific unit, and then you've got the other squad, which is the heavy hitters that have like the Thunderhammers and Lightning Claws, and they're what's going to go into your Terminators, blah 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 blah. And the more you read into these models, the more you're like, oh, they actually do a lot. They're ignoring your passions, so they get stuck into something and they can fall back if they have to. They can move through cover and still get cover with a 5-up. They can, they can do actions when you shouldn't be able to. And then you've got...
I never thought of actually doing the whole 10-man and then combat squatting them, because I always thought that the war gear restrictions was quite a hindrance.
Yeah, but...
Because, you can only take one. Like,
I mean, I could spend hours ranting about how stupid it is that you can only take the options that come in the kit in the same proportion they come in the kit.
And then they get the specific strat exemplars of the Crusade, which is 6s exploding to hit.
Yeah. Which is cool.
So here's the question though. What is the points difference between a Vanguard Vet and a Sword Brethren?
A Vanguard Vet with dual Lightning Claws and a Sword Brethren, the difference is between...
No, just a base cost.
They're
both 17 points?
A Vanguard Veteran is 19 base, and a... No, that's not right.
Yeah, they're 17 base, aren't they?
They're very cheap, so... I mean, because they're Legacy Marines. Sorry, Vanguard...
They're 19. Vanguard Vets are 19 base.
And a Sword Brethren is 22 points base.
Okay, so 3 points. You've got what? Primaris keyword?
Yes.
That in itself is probably good enough for 3 points.
Yeah, you've got Primaris keyword.
But you can't take Storm Shields.
No, but you can put the 5-up on them with the Vow, and they're not taking the passion.
No. I'm just being devil advocate here. I'm just like kind of going, okay. Well, I go. I think the way you described it was really good there, Ikon, where you said you take a 10-man of the varied war gears, and then you combat squad them to exactly what you need them to be. Or this is my Horde Blender, this is my Alpha Strike, or this is my, whatever.
And you put those Thunderhammer Lightning Claw ones in an Impulsor, with an Apothecary or something.
And how much cheaper did you say it was than Blade Guard?
Their minimum, they start off 13 points cheaper than a Blade Guard, but if you put a power sword on them, it becomes 10 points cheaper. And obviously,
Yeah, no. But I mean, if you're going damage
It's a
to
lot
damage,
of saving
right?
when you're running across a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, but I mean, like if you're going Power Fist, if you can run all the Relic Bearer things on them.
Well, okay, I'll find the words verbatim. It says, reading words quickly is hard.
No, it's one model in the unit. Once selected, that upgrade must be allocated to one model in that unit, and that model gains the ability listed. This model should be distinctive from others in it. Oh, no. Okay. That's weird. Yeah, it actually... Standard Games Workshop wording.
Yeah, no, it's...
ambiguous as fuck.
Yeah. For each Black Templars infantry or Black Templars biker unit, excluding character, you can blah blah.
It doesn't say that you can't.
Yeah, it doesn't say that you can't.
But also, it doesn't say that this has to go on sergeants either.
No, and I've heard this pop up in other podcasts and discussions saying you can put it on whoever you want.
Anyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's implied that it is one per squad. Because once selected, that upgrade must be allocated to one model in that unit, and that model gains the ability listed. This model should be distinctive from others in the unit, and before each battle, you should make it clear. Okay.
Yeah, but it's G'd up. Implied does not mean how the rule works.
I know. So, hey, don't worry about what Games Workshop wanted us to do.
Let's make Blade Guards, Sword Brethren squads with all the relics and Thunder Hammers and lightning.
Well, this is how you make them cool,
Yeah.
right? This is where you give them, like, one's got the crazy Power Fist, another one's got mortal wounds, and then, one of them's ignoring AP1. It's a shame you can't put sword, what do you call it? Sorry, storm shields on it.
Yeah.
If you had a 2-up model ignoring AP1 and 2,
But
you'd be AdMech.
this is the thing, though. This is where, because they're not getting the passion, you're moving this thing into cover now. It's 2-up, 5-up.
Hey, 3 10-man Crusader units.
10-man Sword Brethren units.
That's what I meant.
It's about 300 points cheaper than Blade. You can't even take 10-man Blade Guard units, so you're outweighing Blade Guard with bodies.
Yeah.
So here's a crazy one. Just 3 bare bones chaplains, right? Or Primaris ones or whatever. 3 units of 10 Sword Brethren. 3 apothecaries, and then 4 impulses. Oh, you can't take impulses. You need troops choices. Dang.
Not if you run them in Vanguard attachments.
So this would be so it would be a Vanguard.
Yeah.
You can't run 3 HQs in a Vanguard though.
No, so you'd run
2 Vanguards.
You'd run 2 Vanguard.
Nah, that's way too expensive.
Then you're bleeding
can't do
CP
that.
too much.
You just run 3 units of assault intercessors.
I mean, can't you just run?
You run at a point.
What were your elites choices? 3 10-mans and what?
No. So my plan was to get 6 units of Sword Brethren in 6 impulses.
Yeah, but impulses only carry 6,
3,
not 10.
Yeah, I know, they're 3 10-mans, and then you combat squad them.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 characters, so 3 of those units you get one in each of those characters.
If you run 2 patrols, then you've got enough elite slots, because you're running 3 10-man squads, and then you're combat squadding them, so it doesn't take all force organisation slots.
Yeah, but
you get 2 elite slots per patrol.
Yeah, but then 3, you're bleeding the same amount of CP.
You're only bleeding 2, because you get the Warlord in 1, and then you get the 2 CP back for the other one.
No, so you'd be bleeding 4.
You're bleeding 2.
2.
You're 3 patrols.
No,
they're 2 each.
Two patrols.
Oh, 2 patrols.
Because you only need 3 elite slots.
Yeah, well, you need the apothecary as well.
It's still enough.
You know, what'd be really cool is if there was a this is just quick sidetrack. If there was an ability or relic or something where you could turn a organization slot into another organization slot.
That would be pretty
That
cool.
would be epic.
So if you could turn a apothecary into a HQ choice like it used to be,
Or
Yeah.
chaplain or dreadnoughts into
Or-
character choices.
like you used to be able to do.
Just
Hey, I want you to build that list, and I want to verse it.
well, I mean, it's only
The sword that
30 sword brethren is only 750-ish points. Like it'd probably be a little bit more if because you're taking the lightning claws, and like if you're taking lightning claws off that.
Say 1,000. Even just say 1,000.
let's say
Whatever.
1,000.
You've still got another 1,000 to move with. That's heaps.
1,000 for
There's your
30 for 30 sword brethren is not bad, particularly when you're ignoring all these vows and then taking all the quality from it.
So then you take your whirlwind. Then you take your, your Helbrecht and a chaplain in one patrol, and then your Grimaldus and your other chaplain in the other. So you're on a 4 chappies with all sword brethren, all in transports, and a whirlwind for the fights last.
That's actually
Epic.
pretty scary. That is a list that just runs at you and goes, "We're not even here for the objectives. We're just here for your head."
Come at me, bro. It's like not about come at me, bro. It's like I'm coming at you, bro.
What are you going to do about it? And then all right. So you pop a few impulses, but your sword brethren are still running around with a what 3 up 5 up mini transhuman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like we said earlier, running into Death Guard and then not wounding you on 2s despite contagion range.
Yeah.
So the only problem I see with this is that you're running MSU 5-man squads, and 5-man squads these days are pretty easy to delete.
Yeah.
The only issue I can see is that how well is the trade gonna be?
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd be even though they're combat squatting, so you have the potential to be splitting. You'd be running 2. You'd be combat squatting them for the sake of morale, but you would still be having them move as 1 unit, really.
I mean, maybe if you've got the points to shell out for the shield dome on the impulses.
No, you don't need it because the whole
Well, you
army.
wouldn't need to. You got the 5
up.
up. You got the 5 up on the thing.
Of course, because the shield dome's not a 4 up
No, it's
anymore.
5
is it?
up.
No, it's a 5 up.
yeah,
You don't need
so you
to.
don't need to.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
Well, now that you've heard Locky's 8th edition list and my rooted list, Ikon, what have you done up for
okay,
us?
so I mean, this is me coming back to the whole balance in all things with your vows tipping you into your matchup.
Yep.
And I am running a chaplain, just a normal chaplain. I found quite the disgusting little exploit or tactic with a normal chaplain and some blade guard. But a normal chaplain, Master of Sanctity, running Litany of Faith and Exaltation of Rage, and then the High Marshal himself, because that +1 strength in combat is great. And then the Smash Chaplain on bike. A little bit different to Locky's though. We're running Oath of Glory. So that's 6s to hit, deal an additional 2
6s.
hits.
Oh, double
Yeah,
exploding.
double
Nice.
exploding and +1 to the strength of the priest. So you take your Crozius becomes strength 7. And then we're taking 10 houses bones. So all damage coming in is reduced to 1. You just laugh at custodian dreadnoughts that are trying to, Telemon's trying to stomp on you and you guys damage 1. Screw you. I don't care how much D3 + 3 you think you've got. It's damage 1. And really, like, he's smashy, but also you charge him into your opponent's biggest heavy hitter, and you go, well, now you're doing damage 1, and it's got 8 wounds. So, it's got, and then you take the Iron Will to give him +1 to wound as well. The Warlord trait. You just run him into your opponent's, big bad combat thing. You run him into a Daimocaron, and and it's like, well, now we're doing damage 1. and then I'm going to transhuman him. And how do you feel about that? Not great. I've got 3 squads, 3 5-man squads of Crusaders, just straight up legacy Crusaders, not even with close combat weapons. These guys are going to stand in the backfield. They're going to screen. They're going to do rod. They're going to hold objectives. They're going to just do tactical things. And then this is where it gets really interesting. We've got the elite slot that's designed with sort of a bit of everything in mind. We've got 3 squads of Blade Guard veterans.
Wow.
3 squads of Blade Guard veterans. And then 2 Redemptors, one with the Onslaught Gatling, Stormbolter, and Flamer, and then one with the Macroplasma, Underslung, Onslaught Gatling, and Stormbolters. And then until I sort of find something better for, fire support for 150 points, I'm running the Relic Contemptor with the Volkites. I don't have the things that can buff it the same way Death Guard can or Iron Hands, thank you, can. But no matter what you pump it into, you always have that potential for mortal wounds, which I like. We've got an Outrider squad that is there to accompany the chaplain, so that alpha strike, you make sure that chaplain gets in there unscathed, so he can do his maximum bullshit. And then a Whirlwind for the fights last. I think the Holy Orb, is pretty meh, because it's once per game. But this list is definitely it doesn't do anything that the old list used to do. What it's designed to do is it's going to advance into the midfield, and we're going to take secondaries that support me scoring without my opponent's input, right? So we're not going to be taking Engage. We're going to be taking Oath, because we're Space Marines. We're going to be taking Banners because there's a lot of bodies in this list, and we've got those Crusader squads that can run onto each of those objectives and put them up and keep them up. And then we're going to take Rod, maybe Stranglehold. This one will sort of be mission dependent depending on how many objectives are on the table. But all these sorts of things just require me to get to that midfield with those Blade Guard and Dreadnoughts, and just you're scoring 6 to 9 points regardless of what your opponent is doing. If they're running into you, cool, they're meeting 15 Blade Guard. If they're playing super cagey, well then you're gonna outscore them because they're not coming to you. I mean, maybe in the position of really, really shooty armies, it could be a problem, but you're also running 3 squads of Blade Guard that are 2 up, 4 up. You're also running 3 Dreadnoughts which have Duty Eternal. If your opponent's got an army that it's that shooty that it's going to chew through them, there's probably not much else you could have put there in its place anyway.
Yeah. That's going to be hard to get through no matter what you're running.
And
save maybe a buffed up Admech Skitarii block.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we all know they will shoot through it. But from my perspective, what was I going to replace them with that had a better chance of standing up to them? Not really much.
Absolutely.
And then we've got standing in the middle of these 3 bricks of Blade Guard veterans. We've got this chaplain, the one that I was telling you about, that can do the disgusting things. You pay the CP to put the Crusader helm on him, so now he's got a 9-inch aura instead of 6. And then you give him. You don't take the Black Templar Litany of Divine Protection. You take the standard Space Marine one, Litany of Faith, which gives the 5-up Feel No Pain. And it's an aura. So now you've got a 9-inch aura of Feel No Pains. And 9 inches is a lot when you're standing smack bang in the middle of the board. It means, you can fit all your Blade Guard, all your Dreadnoughts. They can all be towed into that 9-inch aura. And then you pick your strongest of your Blade Guard units. The one where you've got that Smash Sergeant that has, the Sword of Judgment, the Champion of the Feast, and the Crux Obsidian, which is the -1 damage. Then on that squad, you chuck on Exhortation of Rage, and anything that comes near them is now Strength 6. Is now copying Strength 6 Power Swords with +1 to wound. So you're going into even T8 models on 4s. and it's AP. It's depending on what vow you've taken, it'll be either AP3 or AP4 damage 2. I think this list, I'm yet to test this list, and but the generalness of it makes me confident that I can use it to adapt to almost everything, as opposed to trying to run this, as opposed to trying to run the lists that we had before, where you've got to get forward, and you don't have the things to support that anymore.
Well, it's like it's not a one-trick pony anymore, right?
Well, that's what I'm trying to step away from. I've got this very diverse. I mean, I didn't even take close combat weapons on my Crusaders, because I was like, I need the balance between, we've got Blade Guard and Dreadnoughts to punch people, but we just get more firepower in case I get into those situations where, maybe I need more shooting. Like that's something that I find a lot, is that in my new matchups with my new book, I'm trying to play this combat, and I'm not bringing enough shooting to the table. I'm not bringing enough guns, not enough bullets, none of that, and it often lets me down, because I can't. I'm relying so much on that one phase of the game, while everyone else is doing both. And then when you're fighting someone who's got psychic phase as well, Jesus, they're getting 3 phases, and you're just trying to get into combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine as well, like, thinking how you would go with, say, like, Grey Knight's Librarian Mortal Wound Dump, where they're doing, 12 to 15 mortal wounds a turn on top of everything else. Yeah, it would be struggling.
Yeah.
It'd be tough.
Yeah, I mean, when I went into Thousand Suns the other day, and...
I mean, that's even worse.
And I'm lucky. I get and this is something that we predicted wouldn't happen in the last podcast, that we thought we would lose the 5-up Feel No Pain against Mortals, which we didn't, which I'm...
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that. I can't
believe it.
I hope Custodes lose it, because having 3 Imperium factions that have a 5-up mortal, 5-up Feel No Pain, against Mortals is stupid.
It's one of those things where, like, all right, it's cool for it to happen once, but then as soon as you start handing it to everyone, it no longer matters.
Well, it's the same thing with Death Guard's neg 1 damage.
Who else got that?
Yeah,
neg 1 damage is everywhere.
It was cool when Death Guard had it, and they were the only ones that had it. But now that it's everywhere, it's kind of like, well...
That was actually something I was going to bring up about Sword Brethren as well, as to why they're superior to Blade Guard, is because when you go into these there's so much -1 damage that Mastercrafted Power Swords don't mean shit anymore. You might as well just run normal ones for cheaper, because it's the same amount of damage.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, realistically, it's only Ramshackle,
Dreadnoughts, Death Guard.
Yeah. And then some sister
stuff. And then, but,
Oh, look, I'm hoping they just don't get it. Custodes is going to get it flat out.
Exactly. So we reckon they'll get it as well. That's speculative, but if they get it as well, that's just one more thing that says Sword Brethren are the better take than Blade Guard, because if there's all this -1 damage coming up, you might as well just run a damage 1 weapon.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I heard something. It was a podcast I was listening to today, where I think it might have been Forge Narrative, but they were talking about how towards the end of 8th, everyone was screaming for there to be non-swingy damage, right?
Yeah. So
no damage 3, D3 or D6.
Yeah.
And then Games Workshop gave everyone damage 2. And then now with all neg 1 damage, everyone's like, give me my D3 damage back.
Well, it's funny. This is why I've
It's good profile, especially if you have stuff that you can re-roll it, like, or ways that you can make it more reliable. I mean,
well, I've actually taken my D6 damage out of my list. I've taken out my Eradicators, and I'm like, because you guys are very expensive, you're very slow, and you just they never yield me good results. I mean,
I'm going to say this right now, and this might be a bit controversial. I have never lost a unit to Eradicators.
Yeah, no,
Eradicators have never... when I've played against them multiple times, they have never killed... Like, they've brought it down to 1 or 2, never killed
I've had one successful Eradicator clutch moment, and that was against Iron Hands, and I just happened to get lucky and delete a Dreadnought from full wounds, and that was once. There's one time.
Yeah.
Of all the games I've played, one time.
It's the 3-man. It's the 3-man that makes it the problem.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's why I think Eradicators find their place in Deathwatch, because you can run them in 5s.
You can run them with... You can run them as 5s normally, can't you? Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, you
Oh,
can.
But
okay.
they're just super expensive, and
Super expensive, right? Yeah.
That's 270 points.
They're good, but people are aware of them now, and they're too easy to get rid of.
I mean,
And they're super easy to... Yeah, sorry.
But
yeah, good. Yeah.
Ultramarines, you strategic reserve them, you bring them in at a stupid close point, and then you put the strat on them that makes them tougher, improves their armor save or whatever, and then you just fall back and blast whatever, like if they engage you. That's maybe where I can see them being good, because you can fall back and shoot. But like, you know,
So then in your mind, how do you... I mean, because look, we played a game quite recently where...
Yeah.
You had no idea what I was bringing. I had no idea what you were bringing. I just said to you, hey, I want to test something off the new Tyranid rules, and I bought 5 T8 bodies.
How do you kill that?
Not a single one took a wound.
Yeah.
You know,
at that point in time, the list that I was playing though was still me. I hadn't yet made this resolution where I was like, I'm going to bring this general list. I was trying to bring this list that was trying to get to you. I had the Impulsor, I had the Rhino, I had the Vanguard veterans. And I'm like, and I was expecting NIDs to come to me as well, because I didn't know about the new rules. And this was, you know, like I knew there was new rules. I didn't know what they were. And so I was expecting like turn 1 charging NIDs. I was like, okay, he's going to run into these chainswords, and it's going to be a bloodbath, and we will, you know, slaughter for the Emperor. And that's not what happened at all. And that was probably the biggest eye opener, where I was like, okay, let's generalize a little bit. Let's take these tankier units. Let's move into this mid board. Let's take the cover. Let's take these secondaries that don't rely on you. So let's take banners, you know, because let's take Oath. Let's take, you know, in that mission I could have taken Stranglehold, and I would have got it for 2 turns. And all these 3 objectives, it wouldn't have mattered. And then this is where I also learned for a fact that the vows are what are tipping your army into the matchup. So you take the general list, and then you go, oh fuck, he's got the 6 Hive Guard. So we take I'm not getting cover anyway. We just take the 5er. And all this sort of stuff that I've been talking about in this podcast is largely to do with me walking away from that feels bad game like you just got spanked, like and this is the product where I'm like, the army just doesn't play the same. You don't run forward with it anymore. You just don't. You play the general. You play the general list, in my opinion, and then you use your vows to tip it into what you need. Because I went into that list taking, okay, we're gonna end up in combat with Tyranids, and I'd already made up my mind before that game. I was like, we're gonna take the accept any challenge no matter the odds, and I took it, and it did nothing. Yeah. And this is where you never go to a table with your I'm gonna take this vow. You go to the table with I've got this list, and then I see what vow I need.
And the list designed to adapt to the table and the opponent.
100%.
Depending on what they are.
I think that is going to be what this book does better than anything else.
Yeah.
Because building your list that, you know, is just running into them. What if you run into a gun line? Like, what if you run into a gun line that's just going to melt you before you get there? Or what if you build that list and you're running into Grey Knights?
Yeah.
No. Grey Knights you don't want to get them in combat, but they're not that tough. Like the shooting in my army, the dreadnoughts, all those
in tighter shadows, they're tough.
Because they're -1.
Well,
no,
extra save. They're in
everything just gets an extra save and then gets -1 to hit.
Is it -1 to hit?
If they're in cover. So if you get +1 to armor save army wide, and then if you're in a
cover.
If you're already in light cover, you get -1 to hit. We in our I've got to remember our timing. In our latest bat rep,
yep,
I expected to move out of it, and I didn't.
Tighter shadows.
I sat in the whole game. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm gonna move, and then I'm like,
it mattered too.
Like, it totally mattered.
Okay, but on the flip side of that, the flip side of that though, I still stand a better chance of shooting you to death with Black Templar than I do fighting you to death with Black Templar, even with you.
And herein lies a problem, right? That just goes against the fluff of the Black Templars, right?
Yeah.
See, I'd almost disagree with you on that one though, because you don't. Like, the list you're bringing isn't built to do shooting against marine chassis, essentially.
Okay, sorry, that's what you're disagreeing with. Sorry, I wasn't sure what you were disagreeing with there.
Yeah. No, you're 100% Black Templar shouldn't be shooting over all else. I think in this scenario where you're looking at the adaptability, against Grey Knights, you almost have to tech then into movement and counterpunch. You want to...
Okay,
because
well then,
if the Grey Knights hit you, they'll blend.
So then
But if you can hit the Grey Knights and pick them off, unit by unit.
But this is the problem that a lot of people are seeing with the book, is that the book isn't fast.
Well, the only option then is you take the Abhor the Witch, which gets you the extra movement army wide turn 1, and it gives you the reroll ones in combat. Balances it up a little bit. The other thing...
I feel like that's good in that scenario, as long as then you use that to pick your opponent's army apart. You can't do the normal Black Templar thing that they kind of want you to do, which is to charge everything in.
The other thing you can do...
You need to put overwhelming force into individual
units.
The other
thing you can do with this, particularly if you get turn 2, and it probably wouldn't work if you got turn 1, but you get Fervent Acclamation. Okay, you get that litany, which allows you to pop a vow on someone for 1 turn that isn't the vow your army took, right? So now you've got accept any challenge no matter the odds, and then you're going second, let's say. So you pop your litany on your Vanguard veterans, and now they're +1 attack always. They get the extra 3 inches of movement, and then they also get to reroll 1s in combat.
Rerolling 1s.
And this is the only way I can think of in that matchup where you're from turn 2 running 15 inches. If
still not far enough.
Depends on your deployment, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, it's a huge gamble too, because it's
gamble.
not like you have you don't have a redeploy ability. There's nothing in your toolbox that enables you to go, cool, I can tech for this option, but if it fails, I'm stuffed. Here's my primary Vanguard unit right out the front. It's just going to get minced.
But that's the only way.
And this is the problem. Like, linear power, as much as, again, we've spoken about how much we're going to see things change over the next couple of months, but linear power, the book's super weak.
Yeah, linear power is super weak.
I mean, we can talk about all the matchups till we're blue in the face, but I realistically can't see any matchup where any current 9th edition book, maybe Necrons, where they're going to come out on top.
But,
sorry.
No, you're not wrong.
But realistically, I can't, and then again, other Space Marine pairings obviously is going to be pretty good for them. They're going to be, I think, probably advantaged over a few, but then some others not really. I mean, White Scars are going to get the jump on them. Blood Angels are going to be probably better than them in combat. Certain Space Wolf lists are going to beat them as well.
It's
it's hard. It's rough.
I think what that means then is that we're going to have to get some
Yeah,
games
no,
in
that was going to be my next statement. Is
and
that
and actually see how all this shakes out on the table
I've
itself.
played a bunch of games that have taught me so much, but now I'm at the point where it's starting to come together for me.
Okay.
I reckon this 30 list we've kind of collectively
The 30
put together.
30.
The 30,
I reckon
yeah.
that's it. You heard it here first. Yeah, I think that's the new meta. It's 6 impulses. It's
6 impulses, 30 sword
it's
brethren.
30 sword brethren with 3 chaplains and a whirlwind, and whatever else you can fit in on top, which would be ideally like outriders.
Nah, you gotta.
and,
I mean,
know,
at this,
a couple
at
other
this
characters
point,
for speed.
At this point, I would forego that because you've got 4 impulses moving up the table, and then you just take cheap troop choices, and then you can flick it into being a battalion.
Yeah.
You take
maybe.
you take three Crusader squads for 90 points each, and then you can flick it into being a battalion. And then because how much then that also gives you 2 extra.
Oh yeah, then you can add, then you can add your
Vanguard
your
veterans.
two
Apothecaries and
your 2 apothecaries
Yeah.
if you wanted to. You want to be a crazy man.
Yeah, I think the Crusader troop choices are great. Or tactical marines are the same price if you're not playing Black Templar. But I see a lot more utility for them to just be those rod rats, or because committing 100 points or 95 points, and honest to God, Assault Intercessors let me down 8 out of 10 games. They never get where you need them. You never put them in the transport because they're not a priority. But then
they're not where you need them to be when you actually need them there.
Well, they should have a base 9 movement.
8 out of 10 times Assault
They need jump packs.
Yes, please.
They need jump packs.
Well, yeah, either they have a base 9 movement because for some reason they can run faster, or they have jump packs and they move 12. Anyway, I think we're just gonna have to test them. And hey, look, if you guys want to hear how these lists go,
come to the Discord.
Jump on the Discord.
Come find first hand.
Come play TTS with us.
Yeah.
You're
going to hear it here first, but I'm looking at setting up to even just to the Discord be able to stream some of these games as well.
That's cool.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
So we'll jump in the Discord and hang out with us and chat to us and watch some of these games actually.
That was actually something I was going to ask you when we were talking about intercessors. I was going to ask you before.
Yeah.
So auto bolt rifles, right? It's the go-to. Cool. Yeah.
For mid-range.
For mid-range.
Yes.
But now that we have the advance and rapid fire strat, advance and rapid fire.
You can make them rapid fire. Yeah, you can make them AVG.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Does this make the rapid fire? Because they're now 30 inches at for the rapid fire ones. Does it make them better?
Plus, yeah.
If you're not looking to use your CP, because you got to think about how you're planning to spend
there's
your CP.
not much good in here.
If you're not planning to spend them anywhere else, then that's a fair point.
There's what?
I don't think he's burning 5 CP a turn, so
You're using. Oh, I'm not even looking in the right book. I'm like, why do those strats look so good? You've got the make core obsec, which is going to be super clutch in your command phase when you can devout push things onto objectives and then make it obsec, and then that's mine now, because as we found out, or as we discussed the other day, scoring is done at the end of your command phase. But most of the others, they're hard nerfs. Like Vicious Riposte, that was the one that you got to roll a dice, and for every save you were returning mortals. Even if the AP meant you wouldn't get a save. Now it's changed, so it's only if a model dies you get to roll 1 dice. So my 2 wound model, I would have been rolling 2 dice. My 3 wound model, 3 dice. Now it's just 1 if the model dies. It's fundamentally worse.
Look, I mean, overall, they've gotten a raw deal, I think.
Yeah, but
especially for what exists that's out there and for what is rumored to come.
Yeah.
It is quite, yeah. I mean, and when I say rumored, I also look at, what has come, i.e. the NIDS thing and the Deathwatch thing, and it's just, it's a bit underwhelming. But hey, look.
I mean, look, we'll need to see how some of it goes on the table, because it might shake out in the next month or two that we actually come up with some lists that are have some sort of surprising synergy or gimmick that actually pulls them right out of the.
That wasn't me shitting on the strats. It was me saying, well, I don't have a lot that I would want to spend it on, so maybe moving away from auto bolt rifles into the always AP1, and then potential.
Maybe that is
the thing
you want to spend the CP on,
because you've got that extra range. So you're rapid, even though you're moving, you're still getting to shoot with rapid fire weapons. Plus you advance, so you're moving up to 12, and then your half fire range is 15 inches. So it's so you'll a lot of the time you will be getting those 2 shots in with the AP1, and that that's sort of because the AP0 bolter. It's not nice. Like, it's not nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if you get...
I mean, we mentioned earlier that you don't necessarily have a lot of tech to deal with marine chassis. Yeah. That could be it. Having bolters with that AP1 and AP2.
Yeah. But then, of course, you've got the sisters thing, ignores AP1 and 2, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But just in general, like, into Death Guard, it's nice.
Yeah.
You're not hitting that, you're not hitting the invulns, you just, you're making those Terminators, 3+ AP1. It's just nice, as opposed to you're dumping 18 shots, but they're rolling 15 twos. Like it always happens that way. Every time you dump an auto bolt rifle into a Death Shroud or anything that's got a 2-up, they roll like 1-1. They take 1 wound, and you're like, this is gay. But they also rolled like 8 twos. So having that AP1, like you think about every. Every time you've played your Death Guard, how many times have you rolled like 8 twos on that no AP save?
Bro, I live for rolling 2s.
Yeah.
That's just what I do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up there. Don't we all? Thank you guys for coming on. Thanks for chatting about Black Templars and putting up with my rooted list.
Yeah. We'll work on it, alright?
That was hilarious. It wasn't even legal.
No, it was horrendous. It was like
it literally made no sense.
There was ideas that were there, and then they translated to fuck all.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for coming and being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Make sure to jump in the Discord and chat with us and chat with Ikon about Black Templars. And yeah, absolutely. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Boy.
Yeah.
Bye.